Forbes Books presents The Great Digital Transformation with Gerard Zatvani, highlighting the pioneers that reimagined possibilities and reimagined businesses. Today, we're having a wide-ranging discussion about digital transformation within e-commerce, fintech, and even online dating. Our guest is Martin Aubut, the CMO at Nesto, a Canadian online mortgage brokerage firm. Martin is a 20-year tech vet who has led numerous organizations and digital transformations within renowned companies such as L'Oreal Canada. Now he's the Chief Marketing Officer at Nesto, one of the fastest-growing Canadian fintech companies, which is on a mission to offer a positive, empowering, and transparent property financing experience, simplified from start to finish. We're going to get into all of that, plus the keys to mastering a digital transformation and what it means to bring an electroshock approach to change. Hey, Jerry, how are you today?
Great. I'm in Montreal here. I am with my friend Martin, really having a great time talking about all kinds of interesting subjects. It's really good to have you here, Martin.
All right. Thank you, Gerard. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and his name is Martin Aubut. He's the CMO at Nesto. And Martin, so every time someone comes on the pod, I always do some research and find out more about him. And I look back, and you had to hit your button to see past experiences twice because you've been in this tech game for quite a long time. And I don't mean to age you, but you're going back to the early 2000s. What was it like back then? Because for all the new kids now, we all take tech for granted. It's like, oh, okay, everything, like we have the power of a space shuttle in our hand. But back then in the early 2000s, it wasn't like that. What do you remember from those early days when you were working early in the tech industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm just seeing a couple of images right now in my head. It's like the Walkman, like tape cassette. And now, like within like the iPhone, that Spotify and all that. So we saw like from really like hardware stuff to digitalization, right? And I saw like I remember I was super young on accounting software company, and we're like C++ coding, and internet was not really there. The first internet, when we saw it and with friends, were like something is big there, and we're already seeing business. So it changed so much, but the tech changed so much, but the behaviors of the new generation changed a lot. I got 2 kids now, and those guys like they can do a lot of things with a laptop at close to 8 years old. So I'm impressed by that. So pretty much like it seems far away, but so many disruption happen. And back in the days, the venture capital was not as structured as now, and so and tech was not there. I remember I was doing affiliates. And I was paying, what my online dating sites, and I was paying cash. People were coming at the office, and I have to pay cash for the leads, right? So I saw like really like from more like hardware, hands-on stuff towards like digitalization of the end-to-end process. So it's a blast. We're happy to see that coming, and our kids don't know because I guess internet. They've been born with it, but on our side, we saw internet arrive, right? So it's so different from, let's say, like it's been 25 years. 22 years I'm in the business. Yeah.
Wow. And so one of the things I like to ask when we first start the pod is, how do you know Jerry? Because people know Jerry in all sorts of different ways. They've either know of him because he has this legendary status within the tech industry, but like, when did you start working with him, or when did you start to know of him?
Actually, it was in 2011.
Yeah.
So I was at L'Oreal as a chief digital officer, and I had this crazy idea to build one platform. So for e-commerce, so we're going into business to consumer, and where we built once and we deployed to 38 brands. Okay, so that was the logic, and I shared with a couple of my friends. And Richard Sejean was the brown shoes e-commerce manager. And e-commerce at that time was not super hot. It was early adopters. So pretty much he said, hey, call Gerard. Gerard, he gave me your cell phone. So I called Gerard and said, I said, hi, hey, I got a project for you. I share my project. He said, yes, I can do it. I was like, okay, good. And he said, when you want to meet? I said, he said, you want to meet now? I say, yes, we can meet now, but you're in Quebec. So, okay, I was in Montreal. So he said, I'm coming tomorrow. So you arrive pretty much dressed like this. And so we had a chat. And first contact, first second, I knew that Gérard was a gentleman. And I can trust this guy. And we've built one site. It works well in 3 months. It was killed site. I said, what you want, Gérard? He said, I want one more. Okay, we'll develop another one in 2 months. And because the back office was starting to build. And after that, we deploy so many websites for brands. And it works. And at the end, I say, Gérard, what you want? You're good partners, right? He said, I want the world. So, and it was like that. I want to conquer the world. I say, okay, you're my type of guys. Now let's be friends. So we became to be friends. And he got the world. I introduced to L'Oréal worldwide. Now L'Oréal was a big client to start. So that's how we met, actually, from a project and from a friend. So network super important. That trust Gérard. And actually, it happens. And now, like 11 years later, I'm here, and I woke up at 5:30 to meet Gérard, because this guy is awesome and he's a gentleman, and I can trust him.
Wow.
But like Joe, I think kind of interesting in my career, in my past, is always having contact with these transformative people like that, were really thinking outside of the box, really reimagining, like back then when we met, myself and Martin, L'Oréal was going into B2C. Like L'Oréal is a typical B2B company. Like that's what they were used to and everything. And the CEO of L'Oréal set this visionary goal of, transforming the company and making it way more B2C, way more in touch with its customers and everything. And Martin and the teams around and everything with L'Oréal, they just made it happen. And I cannot tell you it was easy, because it wasn't easy. They were very demanding, very high level of expectations, fast, quick, flexible. But these are the things that really transform you, make you be better and evolve. For myself personally, it was a really transformative experience, and I'm fortunate to have people like Martin in my network, and that was very rich. So, yeah.
By the way, it's a great story, Martin, because you described Jerry in 2011. He hasn't changed at all. Like that's literally Jerry still to this.
I wish
On the front end, at least. Don't age.
Martin, I want to go back to those early days at L'Oréal. I know we're kind of doing a lot of reminiscing here, but it sounds like the way Jerry set up the scene was L'Oréal wanted to make that jump from the B2C to B2B to B2C. And so what was it like behind the scenes, behind the curtain, in terms of like changing that mindset with the people on the team? Was there pushback? Was there people who were reticent to go down that road? Fill in some of the gaps there and how that all came together.
That's a really good question. Okay, so I will tell the story I can tell, because transformation, actually, if you don't step on people's toes, it's not a transformation, right? So it will be like a upgrade of a company, or the shape of the company is a rectangle, will continue to be a rectangle, maybe change colors, but you will not transform anything. A transformation, you have to change from plan A, it's a rectangle, and maybe it will be a triangle at the end, right? You need to change the form of the business. So human beings don't like to change, right? So, and I will come back to you on this. That's something that I know for sure after 4 transformation. But at L'Oréal, it was not as easy as we wanted to go to B2C. So it was like when they hired me, it was interesting. It was a headhunter called me and they said, the CEO of L'Oréal wants to talk to you. I was like, yeah, but I don't know about beauty, right? I don't care about beauty after all. So I said yes, but he wants to have a guy, like he will come with a fresh mind and try to see what's happening. And what it's interesting at L'Oréal is they have a sentence in French. They say saisir ce qui commence. Saisir ce qui commence. It's like seize the opportunity when it's starting to emerge. Okay. And basically, we had discussion and so on, and that was the use case. Okay, the use case was, and it was Javier San Juan. I like Javier San Juan, was a CEO and is a partner still. He helped me a lot in my career. And Javier San Juan said, what we do now with media and all that, like big TV, big print media, and so on, it's not the same result that it used to be. So something happening, right? So we see a shift somehow. So what is the challenge and what should be our vision for next step? So it was not clear that was B2C yet at this moment. So when I arrived, my job was to analyze, right? And so I have fresh eye. I didn't know the machine of L'Oréal. And basically what we found out is the retailer was so strong in terms of they had the data. We were to pay for the shelf, pay for the ads, pay for everything, but at the end you have, yes, distribution, but you don't know more your consumer, you don't have the data. And at the end, you don't know how they behave, what they want as trends, because you're kind of having to always buy that data to somebody else as the B2B. So that was kind of the first layer that I found out with the team. So what we decided to do was say, okay, Facebook was arriving, eCommerce was arriving, so many disruptor in consumer behavior was arriving. So we analyzed that and we say, okay, consumer don't buy the same way that it used to be a couple of years before all those platforms. So this is where we started. We mapped the customer journey. So we've been like in the store, we've been online, we've done interview. It was really tough, like on the field, right? So, and we map it out. What is the actual and what is the future? And from the future, we look at the gap and we say, okay, this we think it's the best, the North Star of customer journey. And from that, we say, guess what? I think we need to be closer from the consumer. We need to sell to them, getting back the data to give the best experience in the channel of choice. Retail, online, and even like metaverse, because now they are totally in metaverse. We can chat later on. But the logic was that, and we say, okay, so we need to go B2C. So this way we build front end for website to do direct to consumer e-commerce with luxury brand. I don't know if you remember, like Kiehl's, Lancôme. We started with a smaller brand. They really needed us, right? Because at the end, people don't want to change, right? So the general manager at L'Oréal, so you have 38 brands and you have 38 general manager. So they want to protect pretty much their P&L and so on. So when you arrive with this idea, saying, guys, we have to change the model, it's not simple. So we added to show like this is the dream and they need to embrace the dream. And then the way we change people is we're saying, okay, so give me a year, I'll build the site, we bring you $1 million revenues and you do margin, and when it's done, I give it back to you. That was the best way we find to make sure that the corporation will embrace it, because people don't want to lose something in transformation. So that's how we pretty much manage. And when they were seeing results, I like to say transform while you perform, right? Because if you do a transformation and your board always say like, hey guys, the numbers no good, you're dead, right? So we're always trying to get like hockey stick to bring credibility, so people follow you, they start believing it, and after that it starts transforming. But the worst thing is having a big project of transformation, not looking at the P&L, so everybody is against you, and usually transformation don't work. So that's many paths that we find out that human beings don't like to change, but if they see the future and they see it quick and you get credibility, this is where after that you can start your digital transformation. And basically it's a transformation leveraging digital capabilities from digital change behaviors of consumer. Always start with customer first and not like a system transformation. This is what I found out after many years.
And then it's interesting how you're talking about data and how you analyze the data, and then you look at the patterns, you look at how customers are interacting. I think properly understanding the data and how it flows through your business, how it comes from the consumer, how it gets to the business, how it goes through various channels within the business, and being able to make sense of all of it. I think it lies really at the foundation of understanding and knowing how that will show you how to transform, as you mentioned, how to transform the business.
Yeah, and I love the line transform while you perform, because I think that's a lot of difficulty for for companies, because it's as if, like, the old adage of trying to steer a cruise liner. It's slow, but while you're trying to transform, while you're still trying to be a business, if you transform a startup while it's getting going, that's a totally different thing. But when you're an established company, how difficult was that to maintain that performance level for a big brand like that while you were transforming?
We had an opportunity, right? So sometimes it's timing and business. That's what I found out. But I guess everybody knows it. But sometimes timing don't come. But this time it happened. So we had something in you have something in US that it's Black Friday, right? So Black Friday it's really huge, and back in the days was even bigger. Now it's Cyber Month, we call it. But at that time was like a couple of days, and that was happening. So we had e-commerce, couple of e-commerce sites, and we were running some e-commerce sites for the US too. So Critical Mass was there with you remember Biotherm Shumura. And so year one, we decided to activate like hardcore, like on Black Friday. Okay, so nobody believed in us pretty much there, and they were like, I don't know, guys, do your geek stuff. And by the way, we decided to do it well, and it's been like super hot, right? So it showed that we can sell product online, we can do margin and collect information. And what was interesting, and was the key metric that mattered, the KPI that matters, then the companies start following. They were looking at, once you've got a customer buy once, they can buy faster and more often. Frequency, recency, that's something that in CRM it's really core. So consumer was buying more often, bigger basket, and the frequency the recency between, so the days in between sales was shortened. Because why? Because we have the email to communicate with them, right? So once we start this pattern with data and the loop and marketing automation, that's where we built this platform with Gerard's team, and that was working. And they were saying like, okay, that's a huge opportunity to be direct with consumers. So we're able to show hockey stick new opportunities that we're not able to capture before. And I think a clear KPIs that was really giving a signals clear to the organization and the other GM, that was a path that makes sense to look at. So this helps a lot, and after that we're able to show other hockey stick, showing that media efficiency from SEM, the paid and so on, was maybe more interesting than putting all our dollars in media. So we pretty much flip our media mix towards like digital at that time, visit TV, and we test new things. So it was not only like it was the business side, but the way we're doing and making business change based on data. Because before on TV, you throw money in, you've got media metrics, data, it's panel, and hopefully it's work. But in digital, you can control from the top of awareness, consideration, top of funnel towards conversion, and make them buy more often, and at the end becoming a loyal consumer. So that's kind of how we played. Timing, do it big, show hockey stick, show signals that it's a new models coming that you can make interesting amount of dollars, and transforming the way you spend, and you will be more efficient. And at the end, GM is happy because it's do the numbers show growth, is getting an edge in front of competitor. And now at that time they were saying, okay, Martin, what is the next project? And this is where we're starting to play in AI and different crazy things like that, and omni-channel.
In many respects, timing has a value of its own. Like as a window in our life back then, when we had to hit the Black Friday and everything had to be ready in it. Yeah, I remember how many weekends we worked heads down, making sure this has to be delivered, this has to happen, and because you cannot miss that, you lose your opportunity.
You say it, and the first time we've done it, we were like it was like a structure chaos. And after that, the years to come, it was becoming the new normal, right? That's what is interesting in transformation. So you transform something, that you change a format and so on. Hopefully it works good. And after that, like 5 years after at L'Oréal, Black Friday and it was Cyber Month. We were starting a month in advance. We are preparing that 2 months before. All the GM was supportive. The CEO was even like massaging us, bringing us food to do it right. So it was becoming the new normal in the company, and that's what is a transformation. And transformation needs to happen fast, 3 to 4 years. After that is more like you're losing your burning platform. So if you want to disrupt, go big. 3 to 4 years. I like to call it an electroshock. So it needs to. For me, I'm an electroshock myself. So I guess the methodology reflects my style, but seems to work. If you wait too long and you want to have everybody happy, it's impossible.
Jerry, I'd love to get your take on this because in past episodes, we've talked about how you and your team helped many companies transform digitally during the pandemic. It was a big theme of our early episodes, but I'd like to get your sort of like time capsule take on this in terms of what was it like transforming a company in 2011 compared to what you guys were doing in 2020? Similar kind of habits, or was it completely different in those two instances?
Very, very different. During the pandemic, it was all about survival. Nobody was questioning the need to transform. You didn't have to convince anybody. You didn't have to. They said, okay, how fast can you do this for me? Like really, everybody was in. Okay, let's go. Meanwhile, back in those days, like the organization had to follow. Martin had to sell this to the organization, and then the results, like transform while you perform. You have to perform. You really have to make sure that's really the part that convinces the organization and brings everybody along for the journey. So it was much more difficult from this point of view, especially in those times. It was still at the beginning. Nobody was really.
People was looking. Yeah, they were on the sideline.
Yeah, it's like not really Is this the main show? Is this where this is going? So people were still questioning these things a little bit and not 100% sure about it. Today, nobody is really questioning these things. Nobody is really even having second thoughts. It's about how to do it and how fast to do it. It's not about should we do it. And it's no longer the question. So yeah, that really changes the way the conversation happens.
I agree with you. If I may, I guess inspire me a couple of topics here. So one is it's L'Oréal, and we'll talk to you about COGECO was a telecom business. So during COVID, like I will tell you what we've done, and it was a good learning. At L'Oréal, once you give some signals, right, and people start to believe. So Monsieur Agon was a CEO, and he said something super bold. He said, "E-commerce is not the cherry on the cake; it's the new cake." This is strong, right? But it happens maybe 4 years before this happened. Would have liked to have this sentence or quote and direction at the beginning of the journey, right? So my point is, right now when you are in a COVID situation, people they know that is the cake, so you have to go. And I give you an example. COGECO telco business. So we built an IPTV solution, and we had new ways to being able to give a self-installed kit to consumer. So they were able to receive. So they go online, they buy their TV access. They had a little box we shipped and the modem for the internet. Okay, they were doing it online. We ship to the house in the same day. They receive it, and they can connect themselves alone without a technician, right? So my job was to transform COGECO before COVID. Okay, so we're like, how we can do an end-to-end online experience for consumer to be able to enjoy fast their product, and us reducing truck roll, and stuff like that, because we've got 1,000 of people on the road going connect to consumer. So we built that 11% penetration, was not a real success because because at the call center, who wants to say my friend who's is a technician, I want him to work, right? So that was a human thing. Usually 70% of transformation is human thing. And then COVID arrived. Boom. So all the technician was, we cannot go to the house, and even like health and safety, government say nobody going in the house, but everybody needed internet to work at home, right? So timing, so electroshock, the perfect storm was there. And so people, and so the technician was saying like, we cannot go in the house, please help us. And technology pretty much help us because we have the self-install and the product to make it happen. So penetration was 98%, right? And so this helped save money. Consumer were really happy because that's what they want. They didn't know they wanted that. And it changed the whole organization. So COVID was totally different because people was like, I want to drink it. And in 2011 was like, drink it is good, right? And so that's kind of the image I think I can bounce and relate.
Yeah, and technology, like having the technology to enable all of that, like in this situation, in this scenario, they actually had the technology, everything was ready, everything that was ready to, it was just waiting for the timing, the right,
Yes, but we had to solve it before.
Yes.
So we're kind of superhero, but before that they didn't really know what those guys were doing. But timing make us right.
You know, it's funny, Martin. At the beginning of the conversation, we talked about how much has changed over the 20 years of your career. But think about those self-install kits you're talking about. In 2022, it's incredibly common. If you sign up for a cable bundle here in the United States, it's one of the first options, self-install. And most people nowadays were like, yeah, I'd rather do it myself than have someone come over. But in 2019, 2020, people are like, I don't know what to do with this stuff. I'm not a technician. I didn't go to school for this. It's amazing how much things go faster now than it did when you were starting.
You got it. So you cannot say better. And this is the electroshock. And the electroshock in that case was COVID-19.
Jerry, let's talk about electroshocks, because it seems to be Martin's kind of like this is his thing.
That was the title of my book. I did not publish actually. We should have co-write it.
He needs to write his book as well. Like
no, you got one now. It's good.
Yeah. Give me your take on Martin's electroshock.
Yes, I mean you have these moments, this specific like what everybody calls like a perfect storm, and everything converges and people are there, technology is there. That's like the perfect storm that is converging. Like you had it with Tesla, electric car, which is very common. Space industry, like the timing was right. Everybody kind of converged. That's when but I think it's not just happening. It's not just happening. In order for this perfect storm when everything is somehow gels to actually be materialized, I think what's important is the preparation and vision. Like on one hand, you need to be prepared, you need to have all the pieces of the puzzle there, you need to get ready, and then the vision, because you need to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, even if you have all the pieces of the puzzle there, it's not gonna work. I mean, what Elon Musk has done with Tesla, it could have been done by Ford, it could have been done by Mercedes, everything. But they had the pieces of the puzzle, they didn't have the vision. So that when these two things converge and you have everything like plus the vision, then perfect storm happens. A transformation is being initiated and miracles happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you say that about timing too, because I always think this, Mark Zuckerberg, if he was born 20 years earlier, there would be no Facebook, right? Like he did not have that technology to build that platform, but because he was born as a millennial, he was okay, this technology exists and I'll build it off that. So a lot of it, that timing piece is huge.
I think even further, like Facebook was not the first social network,
Orkut.
Orkut and many others, but it was the good combination between the pieces of the puzzle, a vision that was more aligned with what the customers and people were needing, which kind of like made it take off, and I think it's this really makes a difference too. Like if you had MySpace was like 2-3 years, also in search we have the same thing. Google wasn't the first search engine, and many tried before, but Google really was able to find the right balance, the right pieces of the puzzle with the right vision, well aligned, simplicity, speed. You know, like it's which brought together the elements and really made the perfect storm happen.
Yeah.
The electroshock.
Because the first for me social networks was the online dating sites, and so I know I was in the space at the moment. So basically, in online dating you have two profiles, a search engine, you match people and they chat, right? So that was the component was there. But what Zuckerberg have done well is the social graph. So because we developed a social network, MySpace was there, we created Espace kind of way, so it was the new foundation of the social networks, the online dating platform. And so, but what we're starting to crack was a social graph, how you connect people together, and it's creating the network effect. But he saw it and he built it before us, so he killed us. So that was a little story on this. And you know, we're talking about timing. Now Nesto, so Nesto is our new company, and pretty much during COVID, a lot of people were trying to move from the cities, trying to buy because the interest rate was super low, right? So it was kind of a fire. So a lot.
Nesto is mortgages.
Mortgages, mortgages online. Let's say like so. Okay. We decided to do so. This happened, but the point is timing happening. But banks could have take the opportunity to go faster, right? And it's entrepreneur and startup decided to do it because back office is so complex in a bank, super hard to move, right? So we started from a clean slate, and now, you know, like during that time, everybody wanted mortgage. It was amazing. Like we never seen that before. So people, they were willing to go in a new platform called Nesto, the bright side of mortgage, going on the platform and get the rates on the first try, the best rate, complete it online and save money, right? So we built that, and in 72 hours, you can have money in the bank, and in the bank is 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, okay? So we pretty much disrupt this industry that needed love. Why the industry did not change is because maybe banks have a lot of money too. You know, when you have a lot of money, you don't think the same way, and you've got many people to convince to do change and investment. So we decided to do it, and now we're super happy to do. But now the market changed. So post-COVID, inflation, interest rates, same thing in the US. And so we have to work super hard to continue to deliver on the vision. But what is interesting is now people see, since the rates are high, they see that they can save a lot of money with the bank. So it's creating a new behavior. But if we're just saying, oh, it's tough, will never happen. Now it's tough, but we find new ways, and this is how entrepreneur they need to have a place in their ecosystem.
Interesting. And so with Nesto, I'm curious. It seems like you've got the nuts and bolts of it all ready to go. How does a company like this transform digitally in the future? I mean, it seems like, are you maxed out? Is this Nesto is what it is, or can it transform down the line?
It's a good question, because Nesto starting from digital in mind, right? So good back end, good front end, good talent. You know, like everything was built. Everything I saw in the corporate that we have to do to make it right, it's there, right? So and super good and serial entrepreneurs and that and so on. And the new front, we're testing so many new models, but the new frontier I think is AI. So how you can predict rapidly which type of customer is, the way to serve the consumer, and after that is the risk management. How within different source of data you can know super fast the risk level and offering the best solution for the consumer. So I think AI will be super huge, data will be super huge, and after that we'll see where it brings us, like towards the different platform. But but I guess it's just day one, right? So yeah.
You know that there are multiple things that push you to go through a digital transformation or a transformation, not necessarily digital, but a transformation period. Like one is internal, where you need to transform internally in order to adapt to new ways of doing business. But sometimes maybe your internal setup is there, but everything around you transforms. Like for Nesto, when a few years ago you had low interest rates, low inflation, a booming market, now everything has changed. All the conditions around have changed, and you have to react to that. You have to transform to that. You have to bring new tools, new things like AI and other things that will help you navigate the future of the company. So the digital transformation can be initiated and pushed from different angles, and in how this is moving forward.
Yeah, you're totally right. And the form of the business and your objective. Example, once you're in COVID, the booming market, so you're like market share, right? So it's like the way you drive your marketing. So I'm the CMO there, so we're driving like that, and you look and you say, oh, a big cloud's coming. Okay, what we do about it? But what we know that it's much easier with your car to go past five cars under the rain and shitty weather than when it's on the dry road. So that's how we look as the founder, the exec, and we say, all right, now it's time to do, but we need to downshift a little bit to say, okay, how we play. And now, so we pivot more like towards like a profitable trajectory, right? Than just like super high market share. Anyhow, the market changed, right? So the business we had 3 months ago and now it's totally different. And in the mindset, in the process, in the focus on optimization of everything we do to bring product, the new revenue stream we bring, how we can after that optimize the spend in marketing. So it changed totally in terms of 3 months. That's why it's interesting in a startup. Doing this in a big corporation would have taken me 12 months, and now in 3 months with the team we're able to move. So that's interesting. It's another.
Well, I mean, they have on the cell phones, they have the data, the dashboards and everything. You have a real-time update on what's happening, and it's like you can tell within a week that something is happening. The trend is changing, something is shifting, the market is shifting, and this looking at the data and analyzing it with the dashboards and everything, you're able to actually quickly react to it and adjust and downshift if you have to.
Yeah. In a volatile market, but in every market, data is it's king. But data, I guess all company have too much data, and sometimes they don't look at the right thing. So you try to identify 3 or 4 like KPI that matters, and you just nailed it. And that's where it's fun in a startup, because once you see something is wrong and you say, okay, now we have to work on LTV to CAC, company can shift super fast, and you target this KPI and you can transform the way you move around this KPI. But data is super important to look at trends and making sure that you're not reacting, but you're in front of the things happen. Yeah.
Mention that because I talk to Jerry about this all the time. It's paralysis by analysis. We have so much data, like you just said. So as a leader, CMO of a company, how do you pick and choose what is the most important data? Because I think now all of us have too much data, whether you own a company or where you're just a regular human being walking through life. We just know so much about everything. How do you parse all of that? How do you work your way through the weeds?
I think it starts with the vision. So I guess always start with the vision. So what we want to deliver, what is the vision is clear, okay? So what it means success for us. So, like KPIs always been the same, but reinforce some from when we were into fast growth, visit like more profitable trajectory. So what we try, we find out in our model, and I don't want to say too much for our competitor, but when we were looking at conversion funnel within get a quote, so get a leads, and after that an app completion. But we found out that we need to have somebody calling, right? So and calling super fast because they are in front of their computer, right? So this KPI started to become like a Super Bowl KPI that was driving all the other KPIs. So this one was a KPI that matters. So we A/B tested, we put a process around it to make happen this thing that I cannot really tell, and it changed totally the model, right? So now we have like 4 KPIs that are really clear. We have OKRs to deliver on it, and this is what we look every hours. You know, we're looking in the morning, at noon, and we have a scrum, right? And at the end of the day to iterate for the day after.
My take on your question is experience, and this is the art of setting things up. This is the art of running a business, because some of these things come with when you have the intersection between experience and vision and good understanding of business directions. That's when magic happens, and that's when you know where to look, which one to choose, and how to fine tune, and how to put the weight on one KPI versus another. And that's, this is where the art of running a business kicks in. It's not so clear cut sometimes.
Yeah, and experience, it means scars, right? So in 20 from my side, 22 years ish, like we've done things that we know that it's not working, right? So you try to make sure that you look at the right one, you don't spread yourself thin, and you bring the resources in one, and after that you can take another one. But the challenge is sometimes we try to do all in the same times. You spread your resource thin, people getting stressed, so it's no good. So that's what I learned. This is scars.
That's awesome. The greats make things look easy. If you look at sports, whether it's a Messi or Ronaldo, a singer like Adele, they make what they do easy. Like it just seems like they don't even break a sweat while they're doing it. For leaders, sometimes the ones that are the best are the ones that don't look like they're sweating. Like, I can't see your scars, Martin, but they're there. Talk to me about as we wrap things up, as a leader, how can leaders show experience while making it look easy?
I think the role of the leader is 3 things. One, having a clear vision. So when the vision is clear, so you can stay calm, because you can iterate your vision, but at least you know where you're going. So that's what you mentioned. So you look at the mountain and you see it, and your job is to make sure people embrace this vision and they want to go. Second is to make sure that you have cash in the bank, right? Because without cash in the bank, you look stressed, and that's easy, and you do bad decision. And after that, talent. So if you have the right talents around you, makes everything looks easier, because you have people better than you, specialize, and as one team were exceptional. So for me, that's one of the 3 parameters that make us look that it seems more easy in the front end once you've got those variables together. And leadership, it's about like being passionate. People understand where you're going. You unleash the talent of people, so they are their own limits, and I think that's what it's leadership. It can be different form, but that's how I see it on my side. Yeah.
People respond well to passion. People respond well to clarity of vision. Yeah. It kind of corrals the troops. It brings everybody together, and with a clear vision, knowing where you're going, and having the means, with the right team, nothing is impossible.
Yeah, and cash in the bank.
And cash in the bank, yes. This is very important. Well, Martin, this has been a great conversation. Thank you very much for joining us today. And get that book writing. Come on. If Jerry can write a book, you can write a book.
Yes, and then we have the name, 80% is done. It will call Electroshock, Transform While You Perform. This is a transformative framework. I'm writing that with my girlfriend, actually. We wrote a book, How to Meet People on Internet, when I wasn't dating. Now after transformation, because now I'm less in transformation, more like business growth. Yes, hopefully one day will come. I will ask the tip of how you can get the discipline and focus to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Martin. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. It was really fun. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
To be with you today, and hopefully it helps somebody that's watching this. That's my goal today. If it helps one person, that's good.
That's the point. Thank you, Joe.
That was Martin Aubut, the CMO at Nesto. You can connect with Martin on LinkedIn and find out more about Nesto at nesto.ca. This has been The Great Digital Transformation with Gerard Zatvani. To participate in the conversation, go to gerardzatvani.com. The Great Digital Transformation is a production of Forbes Books.